Yes. Good evening, one and all. Uh, I am Dr. Sangram Brahma from Medical Service Center. Welcome you all to this auspicious evening when we are going to discuss in some very important topic, that is the death anniversary of Dr. Dwarakanath Santaram Kotnis. As you know, 9th December was his death anniversary, and on behalf of Medical Service Center Central Committee, it was decided to observe this occasion throughout the country for for a period of 2 weeks, and today is the day of culmination. So, in this concluding session, I invite all our participants, our viewers, on behalf of Medical Service Center Central Committee. And as you know, as you saw from this video, from the inception of Medical Service Center since 1977, MSC has always stand by the people in every disaster and distress. And MSC hold high the noble banner of medical ethics by discussing the life struggle of the pioneers of medical sciences who have given their lives for the development of the medical science and medical ethics. Today is one of that day. So we are going to discuss about the life and struggle of the great pioneer Dr. Dwarakanath Santaram Kotnis. We have eminent speakers with us. As you have seen in the poster, that one of the speaker, Professor Dr. Vinayak Nerlikar, who is the president of MSC All India Committee, and also he was ex head of the department in the Orthopaedics in the Government Medical College of Nashik in Maharashtra. And now, due to his ill health, he is not able to join with us right now. Hope in between our discussion, he will join and we will get him and we will listen to his speech. And second speaker is our Dr. Ansuman Mitra. Dr. Mitra is the secretary of MSC Central Committee, and he is the editor of Health Spectra, the journal of Medical Service Center, and also he is the national in charge of disaster response team of Medical Service Center, who is continuously for last 3 decades. He is the frontline warrior of management of all disasters, and with all odds, in every situation, he manages everything, and he is with higher ethics and morality, with a great humanitarian endeavor in his heart. With us also, MSC All India General Secretary Dr. Bhavani Shankar Das and other dignitaries are with us. I welcome all. Now, without any delay, I request to our speaker, Dr. Ansuman Mitra, to speak about Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis' life and struggle. Dr. Mitra, please.
Welcome everyone. This is a very important day in the life of Medical Service Center. As you know, Medical Service Center, which is a unique organization comprising of all people with health for right of people to health. Here we have all systems of medical practice from modern medicine, Ayurvedic, Unani, homeopathy, to all categories from super specialist to the peripheral health worker. And even people who volunteer for right of people to health, non-medical people also who are willing to volunteer for right of people to health. So this is a unique platform where we work towards health for all by the state. The four pioneers whose thoughts lead MSC in this way, in this anvil, are Dr. Samuel Hahnemann, the founder of homeopathy, Sister Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing, Dr. Norman Bethune, and Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis. This year happens to be 85th year of the Indian medical mission in China. This Indian medical mission, which went to China on the leadership of Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose as the president of Indian National Congress in 1938. This is the 85th year. We are observing the fortnight of the death anniversary of Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis. The world today is in a very critical situation. Health workers, healthcare professionals today, all over the world, are at risk, are everywhere, even in the most advanced countries. Health is ceasing to be a right. Health is being propagated as a commodity to be sold to the highest bidder. And corporate and insurance are the binding forces. Everywhere, with the government withdrawing, the healthcare professionals, the doctors, nurses, health workers on the front line are posed as the cause of all illness of the healthcare system. The COVID blatantly exposed the naked condition, the denuded condition of our healthcare system, of our public health system, not only in our country, all over the world. And everywhere, despite clappings and trappings, it is the frontline workers, the doctors, nurses, paramedics, who are at the receiving end in case of any casualty, which are very high. Besides that, it's a very unfortunate situation. Today, hundreds, more than 300 healthcare professionals, doctors, nurses, pharmacists, paramedics, psychotherapists, auxiliary workers, ambulance drivers, stretcher bearers, all categories of healthcare providers are under fire, under bombardment. All of you know, in the killing fields of Gaza, imperialist attack is ruthlessly bombing hospitals, bombing ambulances, bombing creches, bombing schools, bombing refugee centers, as we saw in the Spanish Civil War in 1935, where the Nazi forces, the fascist forces were bombing the people who were walking in the killing field of Almera, where we have the oath by Dr. Norman Bethune, who questioned what is Hippocratic oath. We learn Hippocratic oath, we take, we enter, whatever household we enter, we take life to the people, we protect life. And when the system is killing hundreds, killing thousands, how do we take, what is the meaning of the oath? Today, if you look at Gaza, when Dr. Alwa is crying out, when the journalist is asking, there is bombing, you had scope to escape, you had scope to go to safer zones, why not moving out? Dr. Alwa, a young 36, 37-year-old nephrologist, told, Ma'am, I studied in medical school for 14 years not to leave my patient. I learned to stand by my patient. Whatever happens, I'll be with my patient. And within a few days, he was bombed to death, along with hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of his co-workers. They did not vacate the side of the patients. If we, in this attack to life, in this attack to humanity, when Dr. Norman Bethune is telling, let us redefine medical ethics, not as an etiquette among doctors, but as a fundamental morality and justice between medicine and the people. When his able student and successor, Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis of Solapur, of Maharashtra, of India, is telling, practice revolutionary humanitarianism. What do they mean? Today, on the death anniversary of Dr. Kotnis, this is the question we would like to delve. What they practiced in the 30s, in the 40s, almost 90 years back to 84, 83, 82 years, 80 years back, what they practiced and what healthcare professionals are challenged to practice today. This is what we should learn from the life of Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis. I would request you to I would take you through a short trip. A young man of a very simple, modest family background of Solapur, a small village in the small town in Maharashtra. There he grew up from his school. He went to college in Bombay. Bombay is one of the centers, 3 primary centers of medical education in India. Kolkata and Madras started in 1835, and just after, in a few years, at Bombay. It was a center of medical education in the country. The British rulers in British India, they were very caustic towards the Indian professors. Professor Jeevraj Mehta, who was one of the major stalwarts of medicine in Western India, was being chastised by the administration. The students, they joined in protest. They were volunteers for Indian struggle for freedom. Dr. Kotnis joined as a volunteer. They protested the insult, the attack on the teacher, and they organized picketing in support of the teacher, and he was rusticated. Dr. Kotnis, at that time, he was a student. Dwarakanath was a student, medical student, a volunteer. He was rusticated from the college. Ultimately, he could finish his MBBS in a different college. He was working after passing out. He was working as a demonstrator in one of the colleges in Mumbai, around Mumbai. And then there was this appeal. Just as India was fighting against British occupation, China was fighting against a very ruthless Japanese occupation. Spanish Civil War was going on in 1935, 1936, 1937, the appeal for international brigade. All right-thinking people, all well-meaning people, scientists, literators, dramatists, players, everyone, every right-thinking person was involved in the international brigade in Spain. Similarly, the China Aid Committee, led by Dr. Madam Sun Yat-sen, Sun Ching-ling, and guided by Marshal Chute, they appealed to the different participants in the International Anti-Imperialist Forum, of which India was also a part. Jawaharlal Nehru, in 1937, as president of Indian National Congress, was also vice president in the International Forum. So Indian National Congress received the invitation to please help in the International Brigade. India didn't have a fighting force. Indian National Congress didn't, because it was led by the Gandhi faction. So we didn't have any army. We didn't have arms. We didn't have money to give them. But what we had a very brilliant medical profession. In 1937, India was among the leading medical professionals in the world. Indians were considered among the most leading clinicians in the world, leading surgeons in the world. And India very aptly provided a Indian medical mission. A medical mission was formed. China Aid Day was formed. Collection was made. In the collection, all over the country, collection was made one day, but collection was inadequate. Again, Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose appealed for another day of collection. This was agreed, and that collection was again done. An ambulance was procured. It was sent straight to Hong Kong by the manufacturer, fully furnished, surgical equipments. Even the entire surgical material which was used in the Indian International Brigade in Turkey, India had sent an international medical mission even in 1912 to Turkey. Dr. Atal, who was leader of the Indian medical mission to China, was also in the Spanish Civil War. So all the material that was handed over to this team. Against a very odds, this team went. So I'll just give you some glimpses. We'll skip over. Imagine a white, snow-clad mountain, snow drizzling of snow. Trees are very sparse, and there's a ravine. There's a canyon below, gorges below. If you look very minutely, there's a small row of people walking. They're silent, they're walking. They have backpacks on their back, and they're going across the gorges, they're navigating the snow-clad, the avalanches, they're walking through. And if you look very minutely, if you can see minutely, you can see each person on the back has a paper clipped onto the back, on the backpack. And the person behind him is very minutely studying that paper. What is happening? They're navigating. Suddenly there's a bombing. Out of the blue, some bombs. Bombers come, bombing is there. The people walking below try to hide in the crevices, in the mountain. There's fire and shot and shell, there's smoke and there's fire. Gradually, the fire subsides. Someone has been lost. Among this team, someone has been lost. And then, what happens? The person who was bombed to death, the person is retrieved, the body is cleaned. These people walking, they're doing something over the body. They're crowding over the body. They're doing something for a 1 hour, 2 hours, 3 hours. And then there's some last rites, roughly some last rites over there. And then we see those people jogging over there. At the bottom, they're jogging for some time. Again, they're packing up and they're starting moving. What happened? This is the medical brigade of the 8th Route Army. Just imagine. This is a medical college on the move. Those students, they are medical students. They are navigating the bomb, they're navigating the winter, the frozen winter, and they're bombed over there. Someone has been lost. And they tried in the body before the last rites. They learnt anatomy, they did some dissection on their own compatriot, and then last rites were done. By that time, they were frozen. It was so cold, it was frozen. They did some jogging to warm their limbs, and their hands had become frozen. Again, they started walking, and each student has his study paper clipped on the previous person's backpack, and while walking, they are studying. Can we imagine such students? Can we imagine such a college? And can we imagine students in the graduation a note, the revolution of the people is bound to triumph. The revolution of the people is bound to be successful. When, when such a cause comes, the Japanese imperialists had attacked. Chinese were fighting their liberation struggle under the leadership of the great Mao Zedong. And the liberators were also fighting against attack by the attackers of democracy, just as in Spain, the Spanish loyalists, the International Brigade, they had to fight not only against the incoming air force of Hitler and Mussolini, they had to fight against Franco, the fascistic ruler. Here in China also, the Kuomintang led by the Chiang Kai-shek had totally forsaken the principles of the leader Sun Yat-sen, and they were attacking the liberators led by Mao Zedong. And this 8th Route Army, which was the most advanced brigade, at a time it had 10,000 volunteers, soldiers. It swelled to 1 lakh, 2 lakh, 3 lakh soldiers. And they had medical team for each brigade. And that medical team would be constantly, they would be teaching, because they didn't have any formal colleges. All colleges are bombed and totally damaged. In the midst of that battle, they had developed the medical college because they had to learn. They had to save their compatriots. To save their compatriots, Dr. Norman Bethune, who went from Spain to China, the internationalist, the great thoracic surgeon, he started the medical education system, the nursing education system, the public health system. Everything was started. They didn't have books. They used to write their own classes and that was the study material. They had to improvise everything. And when this Indian medical mission went to China in 1938, but they were in one part of China, and in the middle there were the Japanese attackers, and the liberators were across over there in Yan'an in northern China. Dr. Bethune was in the northern part, and Kotnis was there, the Indian medical mission was there in China, but they could not meet. Dr. Bethune passed away on 1941 on 12th November. Kotnis could enter that free area behind the Japanese line after that. They were a medical team. When they were in the southern China, which was led by the Kuomintang, where the government was there, Kotnis and his team, they were very confused. There was so much corruption. There was so much lackadaisical callousness. There was so much even fake medicines. So many things going on in the southern China, where the seat of the Chinese government was, Kuomintang government was there. And no one was caring for the life of the people, for the soldiers, of the fighters for liberation. They wanted to go to the front. They had heard of the 8th Route Army. They had wanted to go to the front. But since Indian Congress had sent the mission to the Chinese government, the Kuomintang government, and Kuomintang government, the liberators led by by Mao Zedong, they were in a united front with the Kuomintang. So their leader Zhou Enlai, he was in the government, but he was telling, wait, we cannot take you there. You have come on an international mission. We cannot take you like that. There has to be a common decision. And the doctors from India, they were totally rusting. They thought, what is this? There is no fighting. They are only the Chinese government. They are only giving up the places. They are just running away. People are running as refugees. Why are we held up over here? They were very much agitated. They were restless. They wanted to be taken to the front where the fighting was going on, because we have come from the people of India to serve you. And even Sarojini Naidu, one of the leaders of Congress, she had voiced, if any of our volunteers fall while serving our Chinese friends, it will be a glorious life for them. So they were prepared for the ultimate, but they were being kept here amongst useless work in southern China. And they wanted to go to the front. They wanted to go to the 8th Route Army, which was being led by Zhou Enlai, Chu Te and Mao Zedong. So after much hassles, they could proceed over there after many months. For a long time, they were held up over here. And the day when they were proceeding towards Shanxi, towards that free zone, the telegram came that Kotnis' father had passed away. So it was a shock. Everyone wanted, even Kotnis' elder brother over here wanted Kotnis to come back, Dwarakanath to come back. But Dwarakanath told, my father told you do not come back before fulfilling your mission. So he told, my father is a freedom fighter. He is Indian. His mission was the Indian struggle for freedom and the Chinese struggle for freedom are part of the same struggle. India and China has a long history of cultural and people's unity over centuries, over millennia. And today, both are attacked by imperialist powers from different angles. So it is part of the same battle. And my father told, you do not come back before fulfilling your mission. We have not yet done anything. For months we have been sitting here idle, totally wasted, and we are now to go to the real work. So my father bestowed me the responsibility. Without fulfilling the responsibility, I can't go back. What will I go? What will I do? Everyone was very moved. Everyone, all the team members, they were telling him to go back. He told, there's nothing to do. If father was living some treatment, some crisis, I would have gone and helped. He has already passed away. He did not know that father was in a huge debt to teach him, make his children study. So he was actually, he had committed suicide. That he didn't know. Dwarakanath didn't know. But then he proceeded towards the Yenan, towards Shanxi, where the 8th Route Army was functioning, to the battlefield. There he came as an envoy of people's friendship. This is Kotnis' own term. He came as an envoy of people's friendship. A friendship between two old civilizations who have been friends for centuries, for millennia, and fighting a battle against imperialist powers in their own lands, who are grabbing their own lands. And so this extension of that friendship was the Indian medical mission to China. So there he started learning from the people, from the patients, from the compatriots, and they started understanding what Dr. Bethune did. What was Bethune's methodology? They used to stay with the people, as we saw. They're so cold, there's no other place. They had to, between the classes, even in the classroom, they had to jog because they were getting cold and numb. The planes were very exposed. In the plane land, the hospital call has to move always, because always they were mopping and anti-mopping. The Japanese would mop, like they would finish everything, they'd burn everything, they would plunder everything, demolish all houses and kill thousands of people. The patients and hospital had to move in between, had to shift. Again, the Chinese liberators, they would again do anti-mopping operation to reclaim those after the Japanese went, again start the life over there. So the college would always be in mopping and anti-mopping process. So no other medical college, no other hospital has learned this. That was the stark reality. There was no food. Everyone had to grow their own food. Even the doctors, even the patients, everyone had to grow their own food. So the hospitals, the colleges, everyone had to grow their own food. It was bitter cold. They had to chop wood from the forest 15 kilometers away. Everyone had to do that. All our medical team, they also learned to do that. There was no water nearby. There was no tap and opening water. They had to carry water from far away. They would do that. And they would see patients. And they would treat. Where they would treat, as Dr. Bethune had envisaged. This is, I'll tell you, Bethune is the first person who took blood transfusion to the battlefield in Spanish Civil War. In Spanish Civil War, he saw that the immense blood loss and so much of death due to blood loss. So blood for blood. There was no concept. Blood transfusions, blood banks are huge buildings, big contraption. Everyone was telling it's impossible. One elderly Spanish doctor had agreed, impossible but necessary. He had understood. Then the next line, necessary, if necessary, then not impossible. But what is impossible today, we have to learn to do, make it possible. Bethune was entrusted. He went to London and in 2 weeks he learned blood transfusion. He transformed a small truck into blood transfusion unit and they treat blood transfusion in the battlefield. When Bethune came to China, the first thing he started, he told, if you take patients across 3 mountains over 4-5 days, patients die on the road. They die of infection, they die of blood loss, hemorrhage. He told, we'll take operation theatre into the battlefield. This is what Bethune started. The first concept in the world, it was not known. I'll tell you, this is 40-50 years before the concept of traumatology, before Golden Hour. It was not published in a journal, but Bethune practiced it. And Kotnis and the entire A through Army medical team learned from that. And they had operation theatres into the battlefield. They would calculate how far their 2 mountains across the Japanese army is coming. The local guide would tell it will take 30 minutes to climb this mountain and 10 minutes to climb this hillock. So they'll take 40 minutes to take here. They would calculate. So there are 3 operations, 30 minutes each. And they had the Lugyokwa. What is that? It was a packable operation theatre. They could prepare an old, there were these stone temples in China. So in 30 minutes they would convert a stone temple into a sterile OT. And 10 minutes they would pack it up. It was calculated. Everything was packable. All instruments, all things, everything was packable. And patients, OTs being done, patients are dissipated into the population. They were, if you look very minutely in some village, some person with bandage, some person stitches lying on the sun. Some are basking, some are on the riverfront, some are lying by the pond. Some people are scurrying here and there, some is cleaning, some is doing something. The hospital distributed into the population. This was also devised by the A2 Army and Dr. Bethune, and Kotnis practiced that. So whatever learned method, whatever learned knowledge with the intrinsic content of the science, they were applying it to the battlefield to so diverse condition. And as I told you, on the plain lands, there was always movement, always coming and going. Always there was so much of moving. At least the mountains, they had cracks and crevices, they had caves. In mountains, often some hospital will be stationary for 1 year. But in the plain lands, within weeks, each hospital has to move. So referral centers were the mountains. Just see if you see in our country, in India, in all parts, in the mountains, very minimum healthcare. In the forest areas, very minimum healthcare. We read of Golden Hour now, but a patient takes not only hours, but days to come to a point of treatment. Where is the healthcare available? Here, since mountains were safe, their referral centers were in the mountains, and plain lands were risky. So entire things are topsy-turvy. They learnt it. So through this method, this is the University of the People's Revolution. He was learning every day, every minute, while going on the 3 weeks by ship. Kotnis started learning. There were some Chinese travelers on the ship. So he started trying to understand the Chinese language from them. You write, and it's very complicated. He started learning. He was told the scholar. He was given the nickname scholar. And then he started a rigorous drill, parade every day. We have to prepare physically also, be fit for the battlefield. So he was a scholar and he was also colonel, he was called. So this understanding of Chinese, he started developing and he used to talk in Chinese. And ultimately, within 2 years, he became more Chinese. When other people, Chinese from different parts of the world who were studying elsewhere in Europe, in Australia, New Zealand, in the other part, USA, they were coming back to serve the liberation of the motherland. They learned the local methods from Kotnis. He became so much at one with the people, entwined with the people, that and he learned from the 8th Army. 8th Army regarded all patients who were serving the motherland, who were fighting to liberate the motherland. They were most precious for people. And this is the only army in the world at that time who cared everything. In each unit they had medical units. They didn't have so many medical personnel, so they trained local people to work as medical orderlies, from orderlies to nurses, nurses to doctors. They were training them up. There was a constant method of training. And this method, Kotnis, just like Bethune, he was astounded. We have not seen such a university anywhere in the world. Do people learn like this? Yeah, they're doing it. They were serving. And then what Kotnis and Dr. Bijay Bose, who was his compatriot through, they were astounded that the relationship between the patients and the healthcare professionals. These patients, they are most valuable people. These are more closer than my brothers and sisters. They are comrades, and we are bound to serve because they are fighting to save the motherland. It is our duty to save them. When someone suggested that the front is very risky, the hospital in the base in the background will be better. So Kotnis is said to have told that, yeah, it will be safer for us, but will it be safe for the patients? They risk everything for us to save the motherland. We didn't come to the medical team of the 8th Army to be safe. We came to serve our fighters. So we serve what is best for them, not for us. That was the approach he learned from the 8th Army. So this way, the hospital was moving, the college was moving, the entire process was being learned. There was a lecture topic: utilization of common household utensils in the operation theatre. Like whatever utensils we have in the house, a knife, a fork, a spoon, other things, other garden instruments. Even Bethune had done it. Here also, they were teaching. There was a subject in the class. The use of household utensils in guerrilla warfare. Bethune's book was there. Organization of guerrilla hospital in the warfield, field hospital in guerrilla war. Bethune's book was there. Textbooks were not there. All the details were lighted. They were using stencils and making copies. It was being combined into a book. They were creating the book. This is the way they proceeded. And they were all master scholars. Kotnis saw that so many who are in plain, simple clothes, 8th Army, this padded, hand-woven clothes. These are masters all over the world. They are brilliant people. Some scientists, medical researchers, some very senior doctors, very senior nurses. They had come in to serve the fatherland, to their the freedom struggle to liberate their own land. And so Kotnis felt very humbled in their company. And then he was offered to become the first director of Bethune Peace Hospital. So he said, myself, I'm so young, I'm so immature. So many senior people, surgeons are there, why me? The leadership told, we have confidence on you. He didn't ask a second time. He started studying, if I have to become and General Nie Ronsen, who was a personal friend of Dr. Bethune, he had, in the message he had written, we expect Dr. Kotnis will become the second Bethune in China. It was so heavy. Bethune was like if we consider a traveler is going on a road, like in the olden days, walking for miles and miles together with a pack on his hand on the stick. There's a huge tree, banyan tree, under which the traveler rests. And there's a small frog beneath the tree. If Bethune is like that huge banyan tree, because he was an international surgeon, he had so many inventions, he was a top level, internationally known thoracic surgeon. Many of his instruments are still used today, his methods are still used today. He had gone from Spanish Civil War, pioneering blood transfusion, and back to China, where he pioneered operation theatre in the battlefield. And Kotnis is like that small pebble, a small frog on the bottom. He was just a student out of the college. But so was his commitment, so was his dedication, so was his love for the people, for the suffering humanity. He told we have to learn from Bethune. So what is Bethune's methodology? Kotnis began to write. He would not only the masters, not only the principal of the college, but also he would talk with the orderlies, with the nurses, with the OT technicians, with the stretcher bearers, with the patients, with the common people, what Bethune used to do. So Kotnis wrote what is Bethune's methodology. In course of this struggle, he developed a very beautiful relationship with a fellow colleague over there, nursing teacher, Coaching Lang. She was a teacher in the nursing school. They developed into a very beautiful relationship. Just one line I'll tell you. Kotnis, when he was telling Coaching Lang and the other nurses what to do, he wrote a essay on Florence Nightingale. And that was what he gave to Coaching Lang. I expect that you will become Florence Nightingale of China. So, through his struggle, Kotnis, when he was entering into the shoes of the great Norman Bethune, he understood that we have to learn from the masters, we have to learn from Florence. So he wrote a 2-page essay to Coaching Lang that you learn to be like Florence, you be Florence Nightingale of China. And so that was the excitement among the nurses, what Kotnis is showing us, what is the way he is leading us. Even for us, it is a eye-opener. We recently got that letter, we'll be publishing that in Health Spectra and recently. Kotnis's note on Florence Nightingale. This is the way they proceeded. They had ultimately they were married over there, but Kotnis was working day in and day out. Entire new challenges they were facing, attacks they were facing, thousands of people were being killed. Even medical workers were also sometimes killed in the bombing, as we saw. The work was going on. They were devising methods. So much of abdominal injuries were there. They had to do gastroenterostomies. No one knew. Again, they put that method. How to learn? Kotnis had in internship had seen, he had just given instruments in the OT assistant, third assistant. And only the principal had assisted Bethune Yang. So he learned from the principal, from the assistant to Bethune, from the nurses, how Bethune used to do. They had no textbooks. They thought what should be the process. They wrote down. He was very anxious. We don't know what to do. But he would he was learning from Bethune, and he was also mastering Bethune. Bethune was very ferocious, very angry with any error. Kotnis was never angry. He used to lovingly explain to the others what is the circumstance, what is the problem. He would try to understand the problem, help them to understand the problem. There is a knowledge for him out of Bethune's life. He knew knowledge is the path to go forward. Knowledge not only in medical science, but how to study medical science. What is the ethics? The ethics, as Bethune was telling, let us redefine medical ethics. When civilization is at stake, when the great Renaissance, which has given birth to the present form of society, when that is degenerating, when imperialism-fascism is attacking humanity, is attacking the process of humanization, when it is initiating the process of dehumanization, how to face that? What is the ethics? That is what Bethune taught. Let us redefine medical ethics. So Kotnis, who was an envoy of people's friendship, He himself told, I'm gradually evolving into an envoy of people's revolution. He understood that being an envoy of people's friendship is not adequate, is good, but it is not adequate. Not even most people are envoys of people's friendship, but being an envoy of people's friendship is inadequate. He gradually developed. He crossed into a new standard, into a new level, into an envoy of people's revolution. So when he understood from Bethun's teaching that not only mastery of medicine, mass technology, as Madam Sun Ching-ling told, Madam Sun Yat-sen told that technology in the hands of enemies of civilization will strengthen the attack on civilization. So technology on the hands of friends of civilization will serve civilization. So he told we have to master technology, but with a proper ideology, with a proper understanding. Any understanding, any fight will not do. So that way, he mastered the ethics and the morality which Bethune started. He thought that we have to master in the fight against imperialism-fascism, Renaissance, which created the medical ethics of today, even up to the this Geneva Code. That is what Bethune is questioning. Let us redefine, because this is inadequate to fight this attack on the process of humanization. In the process of the process which is dehumanizing, we see even today in the Middle East, we see the process of dehumanization going on. We see hundreds of doctors, nurses, paramedics, healthcare professionals being slaughtered. They are not leaving the side of the patient, but the ideology is required, which will imbibe them, which will give them the morality, will give them the courage, will give them the strength to really revert the challenge against civilization. Today, when the entire medical system is being trampled down upon, we see in our country entire healthcare system going over to the corporates. Even basic things as diarrhea, malaria, basic things are not treated. Lakhs of people still die of TB, is still the number one hazard. Problems like diarrhea, acute diarrheal disease, problems like acute respiratory infection for children, infectious diseases, these are still, and still India has become the capital of diabetes, of hypertension, everything. We don't have a public health system to handle this, but we have health tourism. With paying of lakhs of rupees, crores of rupees, you can buy anything. And people at half a cost from the Western country, they're coming here for health tourism. So, and we are fighting as if today the new laws are being made which will jail the healthcare professionals, will put health system at jeopardy. So new attacks are coming in, which we are taking our health system back almost 30, 40, 50, 100, 200, 500, 1000 years. We are walking back to the primary, the year days, to the olden days. So, what do we proceed? How to proceed? If we do not understand this attack, if we do not realize just being attacked, we are being attacked, this won't solve. If we have to solve, if we have to really save civilization, if we have to save the health of the people, what we have to do? We have to learn, start from Bethune and the way Kotnis learned. Being a student, being just out of internship, being a demonstrator in the laboratory in the college, he became the first director of Bethune Peace Hospital, and within 4 years he was the top surgeon. What is the university? That is the University, People's University, University of People's Revolution. They learned. That was the learning inspiration for them. Through this, he exemplified that unless you can elevate, unless you raise yourself from a level of people's friendship to an envoy of people's revolution, and unless you can redefine medical ethics and practice that redefined medical ethics, we cannot really solve these challenges. We'll always be at the receiving end. We'll always be at the end. So, unless we can really face this reality, unless we can really learn to practice revolutionary humanitarianism as Kotnis learned in the battlefields of China, so that today we have to, the wherever this capitalist imperialist attack is there throughout the world, war, you can see war is a business. War is the most thriving business. Killing people is a business. Killing children, rampaging women, elderly people is a business. This dirty business is being thrust onto the people. So, as protectors of human life, as protectors of human liberty, as the noblest of professions, of all professions, we medicos, healthcare professionals, we have to learn the method Kotnis learned, how they graduated from a simple, very junior worker to that level, and what is the inspiration, and how they could really serve the people in that way, and the bondage they developed with the people, how the 8th army which took care of each of its patients. He said for the first time in civilization he saw, and very much contrast even to what was going on in southern China in the Kuomintang areas. So each patient is valuable. Every best thing, whatever available, so meager resources, but that is for the patient. And the relationship the patients had with the healthcare professionals, this was something to learn. And the capacity of enduring suffering by the patients who were so imbued with the ethics, with the struggle against capitalism, imperialism, against fascism. So, this is the thing we need to learn today on the 85th year of the Indian medical mission in China. When they were being pulled back, when the Indian Congress had already, they had banished Netaji Subhash Chandra Bose, the person who was the driving force behind the Indian medical mission. The new rules, they were calling back Kotnis, they were telling, pulling back Bethuna, the Kotnis and Basu, Vijay Basu, to come back to country, you don't stay over there. They stayed back for as volunteers for People's Revolution. So this is the life. Kotnis was, he was personally mortally at risk. He himself developed epilepsy, and one day, like so many stories are there, he became a black mother. Just imagine a 32-year-old young man, sturdy and hefty, and he's being called a black mother because he was so caring, he was so loving, and the patients, he was always, he was not only, he became second Bethune, he became the black mother. They called him as a mother. Not only children, even elderly people, they got the mother's care, mother's love for him, the concern for him. When some patient was throwing the food, they were afraid that the director would admonish them. No, he would ask them what happened. He would tell them what is the condition, what supplies we have. He would explain them the disease. Even he would tell some officer that I have epilepsy. The officer was astonished. Why? How? Epilepsy means death, because there was no medicine at that time. Already in that battalion, once senior had epilepsy. He was having fits while they were crossing a river, fell to the river and drowned. So epilepsy is death. Kotnis told no, but we are fighting. We have to fight. We have to learn. He was learning from the. He would lovingly tell, explain when any staff was erring. He would explain to him or her what is the condition of that patient, and then that person would feel very sorry for doing wrong. He never chastised anyone, but he was very stern. Everything had to be particular, and he was most stern on himself. Whatever he was, his own shortcoming, he was most stern on that. So this was the method of learning. The method of learning from surroundings, method of learning from everyone, and method of learning from one's faults. This method which they applied in the University of People's Revolution. From that, Kotnis grew from just a college pass out to a director, first director of the Bethune Peace International Peace Hospital. He grew from a simple worker to a top skilled surgeon. He became an able 8th army man, and he became the second Bethune, and he became this black mother. He died on duty with grand mal epilepsy and no treatment. Even when between the fits, he was writing the textbook of surgery. Even between his wife, Cochin Lang knew he would send everyone away. No one would be allowed to witness the fit. Everyone would become very scared. Only Cochin Lang knew. She would just nurse him, and then when he would get okay, again he would start writing day in and day out because he knew I'll die. I have to finish the surgery book. How will the students learn? This was the commitment. This was the method of growing up, and this was the method of elevating and fighting the enemies of the people, enemies of civilization. Today, we are facing the same crisis, a more severe crisis, and more bitter crisis, more ruthless opposition to civilization in the country, throughout the world. So, unless we learn, we have to not only get united, but we have to learn to redefine medical ethics from Bethune as Kotnis learned. And then we can really pay tribute to this great son of our soil and really be willing to stand by our people in distress, our people who are under attack, as MSC has done in Nandigram Singur, as MSC has done in the Kisan Andolan, as we do throughout the disasters where life and existence is at risk. So we call upon all our friends, all our young friends who are medical students, nursing students, paramedics who are with us, even our colleagues, PGs, and even our senior professors, the faculties and practitioners. We have a strong and bitter battle ahead. If we learn with Kotnis, if we learn to really apply the struggle of Dwarakanath, Shantaram, Kotnis, then we can go forward. Then we can really put to practice redefining medical ethics and practicing revolutionary humanitarianism. Thank you all. I know you'll all be with us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ansuman Mitra, for your elaborate discussion. And our speaker, Dr. Professor Vinayak Nerlikar sir, is not able to join with us. So, after this elaborate discussion by Dr. Mitra, if anyone have any queries or any questions, any clarifications, or if anyone wants, then you can ask here or you can write in the chat box. Okay. So, as Dr. Ansuman Mitra very nicely elaborated the full life and struggle of Dr. Dwarakanath Kotnis, starting from his student period, how he opposed the injustice and got rusticated from the college, and then how he reacted and replied at the death of getting the news of death of his beloved father and his teachings. His father had told him never come back without fulfillment of your mission, and he showed his ethics, higher ethics and values, and also respect to his father. And he stayed, in spite of telling all to come back, he remained there to complete his work, his mission. And also we saw Dr. Kotnis' friendship with the common people, patients, and his companions, and also the he also propagated the great teachings of Dr. Norman Bethune that yes, some things are feeling as if impossible but necessary. And if it is necessary, it will not be impossible for us. So with these teachings, they converted the mountain caves to the referral centers and so many passed so many odds and converted them to their benefits. And at the last, as Dr. Mitra told, and also we also see the crisis of today's period is manifold and much more highly multiplied problems than those days. So in this situation, with the teachings of Dr. Norman Bethune, Dr. Kotnis, and all other pioneers of medical science, we all have to be united. We all have to be uh, join our hands for the higher ethics, higher morality, for the sake of the humanity and medical ethics. With this, with special thanks to Dr. Ansuman Mitra, our beloved secretary, and also special thanks to all the participants, all seniors, all doctors, professors, seniors, and participants for joining this online discussion and making it successful. And with this, now I conclude this discussion. Thank you all.